Leticia Vicotti, a social media strategist, manager, agency owner, and mentor. Today, I'm going to tell you about 7 things that certainly never crossed your mind about what are the functions of a social media manager that you might be doing, but it's actually not your duty. I will teach you to work correctly and not suffer abuse from your client regarding the scope of your work that you agreed with them. Before I say the 7 things, I want to tell you 2 cases that happened to me and could have been happening to you as well. The first case is that right when I started, I had a client who was extremely demanding with a super high ego. This person had 0 tolerance for mistakes, errors, nothing like that. And we couldn't do anything, absolutely nothing wrong. Definitely a perfectionist. But it was so much that it became a hurdle because everything that we created in terms of content had so much changes that we couldn't keep the post schedule on time because things were always stuck in the production line. I had agreed on a price that was pretty decent for someone who was starting out, but I decided to turn down the client after about 1 year and not have them as a client even though they paid pretty well because there was no respect happening. They would send me messages in the middle of the night, on a Saturday, a Sunday, any time or day you can possibly imagine. And I started to feel like a failure. My anxiety was so high, I started to have stomach problems. Before I made this decision, I went through a spinning wheel of what was right and what was wrong. Was I quitting because I was weak, or was I doing the right thing for my sanity? I don't know. At the same time, they would ask me to do things outside of what we had agreed on. And I didn't know how to position myself or to say no because I was truly afraid of losing the client. All the graphics and videos we were doing, there were tons of requests for modifications. And of course, the client can for sure request modifications, and that's normal. But with them, they didn't look at everything at once. So it was always minor things that was coming back that could have been edited all at the same time, and the designer and the video editor were not happy. For you to see how complicated it got, the designer who worked with me at the time actually decided not to work with this client, and they said they could not help me anymore. Another story was also a food company that I worked with, and my job there was only to support with stories because they wanted to really focus on ads and not so much on organic due to their budget. But the owner kept sending me messages because they weren't getting sales. I think you probably know this. It's so frustrating. So just imagine the responsibility and burden that I felt. I felt horrible and pressured, but sales was not really my job in that scenario. Has something like that been happening to you or has happened to you? A client keeps pushing you to get sales? Perhaps you are me in the past. If you are going through something like this or have already gone through, write in the comments below. I want to know more about you and your story, and I'm sure that everyone who's watching this video would like to know a little bit more of everyone's story and see how we can relate to one another. With that in mind, I want to tell you about 7 functions that are not the responsibility of a social media manager. The first thing is that the social media manager is not responsible for selling the company's products. Rather, this is a digital or a physical product. People often mix sales and marketing, but in reality, they are 2 separate departments. Marketing is a strategy that you as a social media manager will use, but sales don't depend on that only. For example, if people are clicking on the link in the bio but don't complete the purchase, there's a whole process behind that needs to be evaluated and looked at. Are there a lot of steps for the person to actually reach the purchasing part? Maybe the site is too slow, it's not opening. Is the copy right? Is it good? Is convincing? Is the product attractive enough? All these steps that go outside of the social media platform are not the role of a social media manager to manage. The second function is web development, and this might be a little obvious to you as the social media manager, but to the client sometimes it's not necessarily very obvious, the division of our work and the website. Making a website primarily for shopping or any kind of landing page is not part of the responsibility of a social media manager. The task is usually handled by a developed and dedicated web designer that studied about this. The third thing is customer service. For example, a person gets in touch with the company or the individual who's your client by direct message and they need support. Maybe they bought a course, maybe they bought a service or a product, whatever it may be, and they're having difficulties. Whatever it is, it's not our responsibility. Customer service should be handled by the customer service department. The fourth function is graphic designer. Although we offer graphic design services, this is not our role. You can make content with Canva or any other app, website, something like that, but be aware that that is not of your role. You can offer this service, but that is not your job. The same thing goes with video editing. You probably did not study branding, video editing, and all these programs that contain into this category. I know that Canva is a wonderful tool many people use, but it's not a tool that an expert designer usually use or a video editor. When it comes to branding, there's a whole study behind creation of a logo and not just getting a template from Canva. The fifth function is that the social media manager is not an HR analyst. In other words, we are not part of recruiting employees or clients for our own client, and even influencers in this category. For example, if the company wants to promote a product, like maybe they just have launched a nutrition product, then the client asks the social media manager to go after influencers to promote it. This is not part of our work scope. There are people and agencies focused only on influencer marketing, and they are usually the ones who will take care of this kind of work. The sixth function that is not part of our work is technical support. And when I mean technical support, it's social media platforms technical support. So for example, if they want to get verified on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, or they want to complete a survey from the social media platform for lead magnets or whatever it may be, security forms, two-factor authentication, security data, credit card data input for paid traffic, all these is not technically our job. The seventh thing is production of long text. The creation of these texts. We do create text, and that is part of our job, like subtitles, stories, the content itself. What I'm talking about here are writing long text such as blogs, newsletters, emails. That is usually done by a specialized copywriter. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus tip that will help you convert all these functions that maybe you are already doing, but it's not necessarily your function, into more money for you. But first, I want to give you 3 messages. The first is that I prepared a special ebook for you called The 10 Ways to Earn More Money as a Social Media Manager. And in it, I explain how to maximize your earnings by doing what you already do today. For you to download, just access the link in the description of this video below. The second message I want to tell you is that here on the card above, I have a video talking about the most lucrative niches to work on as a social media manager. So make sure to check out that video as well. And the third message is that I can save you time and money on this journey as a social media manager. You don't have to go through the things that I had to go through in order to reach the place that I am today. You don't have to make the same mistakes. You can learn a lot faster and skip some steps. With that in mind, I created a private one-on-one consulting called The Ropes to Become a Successful Social Media Manager, where we are going to have some time together, just you and me, so we can clear all your doubts and speed up the process for you. The link is also in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment below. And now let's go to the bonus tip. How do I make all of these functions that are not technically my function become more money for myself? Well, that's very simple. Offer sales supports, web design, web development, customer service, graphic designing services, video editing, technical support, and long text writing as an add-on into your package. These are not part of it, but they can be extras that you can implement in order to upsell your client. So even though these things are technically not the function of a social media manager, it doesn't mean that you can't do each of these things, but you just have to offer them as a separate service. Even more important, have a specific and determined schedule for the client. In your proposal meeting or in your briefing, you have to make clear to the client what are the hours of operations and the days that you work. If possible, have a separate number for business only. Trust me, I learned that in the hard way. That way, people will respect you much more as a successful social media manager and business owner. Did you like these tips? I hope it helped you, and I wanted to ask you at this time to help me as well in return of the knowledge that I just provided you by subscribing to the channel, like this video, turn on the notification bell for you to get notified every single week when there's a new video here. And don't forget to tell me in the comment below what are the crazy experiences you have gone through since you started in this career. Well, I'll see you next time.